sometimes the antidote to that long-term big project thinking is just like taking a moment to enjoy the place you're in while you're in it.
Adrian Molina started at Pixar as an animator on Ratatouille, worked as a story artist on Monsters University, and contributed to Luca and The Good Dinosaur. You might know him best as the screenwriter and co-director of Pixar's Oscar-winning film, Coco. What first got you interested in animation?
When I was younger, maybe like third or fourth grade, I remember my dad took a Post-it note pad and just took a little ballpoint pen and did this animation of a stick figure kind of throwing a football and it swinging back around and hitting him in the back of the head. Being able to see that animation was something that you could create with something as simple as a Post-it notepad and a pen, all of a sudden I was like, I have the full power of the universe at my fingertips now.
What does your family think of your work?
I think they're very proud of me. My dad, he had one of those like mini DV camcorders and just let us run around, go wild with it, make movies, tell stories. And I think that was kind of my first training ground in terms of creating.
What were your favorite Disney or Pixar films when you were young and why?
For Pixar, Monsters, Inc., I was in high school when that came out. And I just remember thinking like, this looks incredible. Like even just trying to wrap my brain around what computer animation was and just the texture of it, the emotion of it, just like everything about it. A few of these projects have kind of come around full circle. The first film that I storyboarded on was Toy Story 3. And so that was kind of a crazy experience where, I had seen Toy Story and Toy Story 2 in theaters. And there's this moment when you go from being someone who loves animation to someone who makes animation, especially at Pixar, where you're like, I am creating characters that people have relationships with their entire life. It's exciting. It feels like it's a lot of responsibility sometimes too.
I remember seeing your storyboards in the Toy Story 3 art book when I was in college and thinking, wow, this is amazing. And I never thought that I'd be able to work with you someday. And now here we are. How has your experience of being a second-generation immigrant impacted the way you approach storytelling?
I think there was something interesting about working on Coco. And there are times where I felt very close to the story because the family felt like my family. The food I ate and the songs we listened to came from, Mexico or my mom's experience, but her experience living in Mexico was different from my experience growing up in the United States. Even language stuff, like I would call her up with language questions every day because I didn't grow up speaking Spanish, but I wanted to incorporate that into the writing just to try to get this movie to feel as faithful as possible. I think it sparked that interest of wanting to know where you come from, what your traditions are, and talking to your family about that before those memories go away.
For the next generation, especially people interested in animation or directing, what advice do you have for them?
Give yourself time to grow. You will be so inspired by the work that you see coming out of the industry or that you see your friends making. You can put a lot of pressure on yourself to get to the end, but I find you grow the most when you take the pressure off and you give yourself time to explore and time to grow and time to try new stuff. Ultimately, baking inside of you is the artist that you're meant to become, and give it time, let it bake, and it's going to be amazing when it's ready.